And welcome into the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser from downtown Chicago. He's Robert Williamson down in Florella, Alabama. Robert, how's life down there today?
Man, life is good in Alabama. How about in Chicago? Good treating you well?
Just rolling. No complaints at all. 70-degree weather. You know, old man winter's banging on the door, but he's still about 5 or 6 weeks away. Man, a ton of stuff to talk about. You know, what I really love about NJCAA football is great games every week. The drama. Each week matters. I mean, a lot of these games are a coin flip. Look at Iowa Western. Gets past Iowa Central by 7, 41-34. Pearl River wins down in Mississippi by a field goal at East Central. New Mexico Military, a 5-point pivotal win down in the SWJCFC as they beat Blinn. Cisco gets past Trinity Valley by 4. How about Landon Vessel, the quarterback for Cisco? Sensational. Georgia Military and Lackawanna. You knew that game was going to be just a really good football game, and it was a 5-point win for Rob Manchester and Georgia Military. Dodge City, how about Ryan Lusby? Gets in there and knocks off a very good Highland football team. They had a 3-point game, a 9-6. So each week in the NJCAA, this is what you get. You're going to get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games that are one-possession games, and that's not factoring the games that are two-possession games, but we're close going in. You look at the players who run this league. I mean, they make it happen. These are guys that are coming in that are well on their way to Division I programs or 1AA programs or Division II programs. The overwhelming majority of these players use this as a transition to get in. And you look at the quarterback position, 300-yard passing games. How about New Mexico's Elliott Paskett Bell? What an effort he put. 204 yards on the ground rushing, 123 yards throwing the football. He gets the big win, as we talked about. Then you got Cisco quarterback Landon Vessel, who I mentioned, 22 of 31 for 323 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Smith at Iowa Central, 354 yards off the bench and threw for a bunch of touchdowns in that football game. And then in the running game, look, Trey Hall at Mississippi Gulf Coast and Demarion Petit, 2-team race for the rushing title down in the MACCC down there in Mississippi. I mean, nationally, you know, you look at the running backs, Robert, you're looking at primarily Waymon Jordan Jr. At Hutch, Maurice Edwards at Lackawanna, DeJuan Lacey at Garden City, along with Trey Hall and Demarion Petit. It's a 5-team race for the rushing title, I think, at this juncture. Now, look, a guy I really like, Coffeyville, Trey Avis Jones. I mean, but he's only played in 3 games, so he's probably not going to be able to make a serious run at that rushing title. But I like what this guy does. He is impactful for the Red Ravens and really getting it done. That's just a glance at how good and how compelling NJCAA football is.
Man, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and you and I have spoken off record and off air. I think everybody in the NJCAA is going to absorb a loss this year. I think that the top 4 teams, though, will only have 1 loss. I don't think you're going to have a 2-loss team into the top 4 this year. So there is parity, but it seems to be parity near the top. And really, at this juncture, we're halfway through the season, anybody's bet as to who is getting into the Final Four.
Well, you're right. I agree with you. I think you're going to have a couple of maybe 3 2-loss teams that get into the 4-team NJCAA playoff. It's certainly shaping up that way. You know, in years past, maybe 1 gets in, but the competitiveness, the talent level, that the recruiting that these teams do is pretty solid. This is the JUCO Rush. I'm Mike Fraser. He's Robert Williamson, proud sponsor here of the JUCO Rush. Allen Beverages down there in Gulfport, Mississippi. They're a proud Pepsi Cola bottler. Allen Beverages, refreshingly local since 1947. Pepsi, a proud sponsor, and we're happy to have them on board here on the JUCO Rush. Also, Sport FX Designs. Give them a look. They are providing our graphics here for the JUCO Rush as we dive in here, as we want to promote NJCAA athletics and really the talented football players that get it done here. All right, Robert, let's take a look at the rankings here. The latest NJCAA rankings have been released. Robert, through the top 10, what jumps out at you, if anything?
Well, I think one should be Hutch until they're beaten. I think they will get beaten at some point this year. Iowa Western, number 2. I don't have a problem with that. Boy, I'm starting to think like Mike Frazier does, in that maybe Mississippi Gulf Coast should edge out Snow. But there's a big game this week for Snow, so maybe they earn the right to stay at number 3. Kilgore, with their win over Navarro, they should be number 5. I can't really complain that much with the top 5.
You know, same with me. I think Gulf Coast should be on that 3 line. I think they're they're 4-0, and they've won against quality of opponents. Look, they knocked off East Mississippi when they were ranked, and East Mississippi, even though they're out of the rankings, that's still a very good football team. They knock off Jones 27-20. And they've got another rivalry game this weekend. I think they'd be on the 3 line. I'd move Snow down to that. I'd put them right ahead of Garden City through the first top 10. And if Snow continues to win, big test. They got Butler this weekend. They knock off Butler. And, of course, they got Iowa Western on the schedule left. Well, you know, now you're showing the mustard that I think Snow has, but just because of the teams they've played early on, that's why I would still put them a little further lower in the poll. 10 through 15, yeah, no problem with Northwest. Holmes is deserving to be up there. I mean, Ben, they're 4-0 on the season down there in Mississippi. Boy, Butler's done a great job. And then, of course, you see Highland, Lackawanna, and Colin rounding out the top 15.
And I agree. 5 through 15. I mean, until we're so early in the year, it is still difficult to know in many instances who the better team is. But I think the pollsters have done a very good job at ranking these, at least thus far. And, you know, you and I on occasion can have a difference of opinion with the pollsters. But in this particular case, I don't think it's a big difference of opinion.
No, and it's still early. Things will sort themselves out. I think the committee's done a terrific job at putting things together. And like I said, I think you're going to have a couple 2-loss teams that get in that top 4.
What about players this past week, their performances? And, man, there's been so many great performances. I know it's difficult to narrow it down to 2 each, but what about your 2?
Yeah, my players of the week, I'm going to start right at Iowa Central. How about quarterback? That's Elliot Paskett Bell. Let's go with New Mexico military quarterback Elliot Paskett Bell. Solid. Put up 328 yards of total offense for the Bronco offense. Helped them knock off the Buccaneers with a big conference win. 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. He picked up another 124 yards rushing on the ground. He was a difference maker for NMMI. Nimi gets the big win. That is one of my players of the week. Then I'm staying at the quarterback slot, Robert. And look, I like defensive guys, but you can't pass up Tyler Smith. Great numbers. This guy wasn't even a starter. Smith, 22 of 31 for 354 yards, 4 passing touchdowns against the number 2 team in the country, Iowa Western. And what an effort. They lose the game 41-34, but that man right there is certainly a JUCO Rush Mike Frazier player of the week.
Well, and I can't complain about your 2 picks, but I got 2 different guys I want to focus on. This fella carried the ball 11 times, 163 yards. Anytime you are averaging about 14, 15 yards per pop, and you got a 93-yarder mixed in and touchdown, you know, I got to focus on you. And not only that, also caught a pass for a couple of yards. I mean, that wasn't a big contributing factor of the offense, but definitely his running was. Trey Hall of Mississippi Gulf Coast. Big night last Thursday. And then my number 2 guy, I guess we're going to go to Iowa Western a lot because Iowa Western has got so much talent. Fresh Walters, 6 receptions, 120 yards, and a single touchdown. And then you got another factor to consider where Walters is concerned as well, and that is that he returned 3 kicks for 21 yards per. So about 63 yards in kickoff returns for Fresh Walters. So those
Solid.
two, Hall and Walters.
Yeah, solid guys, no doubt about it. Great photo, by the way, and photo there courtesy of Iowa Western Athletics. We also like to thank Nimi for providing that photo as well, and then the folks down at Mississippi Gulf Coast for providing us with those photos. All right, let's take a look. You talk about Iowa Western, man, a guy that had a tremendous football game, and that was Daniel Swinney, running back for Iowa Western. 16 carries, 128 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The JUCO Rush caught up with Swinney to talk to him about his performance. Well, Daniel, the Cup is going back to Council Bluffs. You pick up a quality win against a rival in Iowa Central. And I would imagine, Daniel, that bus had to be rocking on the way back to Council Bluffs last weekend.
It was a little secure win. I say we started off a little bit slow, but it did feel good to secure the Cup and bring it back home to Council Bluffs.
Hey, I got to ask you a question about Mel Manuel. You know, we were talking about it before going on the air. Doesn't that kind of prepare you for these big games? Because Mel Manuel in the state of Kentucky, which I think is the longest running high school football game, it is such a college-like atmosphere. Does it mentally kind of prepare you for the big games in junior college?
I mean, I would say regardless of who is in attendance to the game, I know that I got to do my part regardless. Like as a running back, I got to make the block. I got to run the ball. I just got to do my assignment, take care of my part, and with hopes of my teammates take care of their part, so we could all just come together and just get the win.
You sat out last year as a redshirt freshman, and I know from a coaching perspective, that's the smart thing to do. In the development perspective, that's the smart thing to do. But as a player, aren't you constantly chomping at the bit wanting to get into a game? And how difficult was it sitting out for a year?
Oh, I would say it was kind of difficult because through my red shirt, they had coaches, players, hey bro, just play. Like you could easily like just hop on the field and just play and be a factor. But I knew that it was bigger than this JUCO that where I'm at right now, because JUCO only lasts for 2 years, and I would more likely like to have my years of eligibility for when I go to my 4-year school. So
you know, in that running back room, what's the chemistry like? What's the relationship like with you and Jonathan and the others as you guys really, sharing the football and trying to get your touches throughout the course of a game and a season?
It's just one thing that my position coach told us. He just told us, like, when your name is called, just be ready. You ain't got no choice. You can't get off to a slow start, because that could honestly cost a team. So when you get your shot to get in the game, when you get your run rep, when you got any assignment to do in a game, just make sure you execute your part.
What did you see? You had 16 touches, 128 yards, 3 touchdowns in the win against Iowa Central. What did you see? Why were you so elusive in that game last week?
I say what I saw, like throughout that game, through every carry that I had, I felt like that just everything slowed down. Everything in general, like when I got the ball, I saw the hole. I just had to be patient with it and let it open up so I could get going.
Daniel, we thank you so much for jumping on the JUCO Rush. Best of luck to you throughout the course of the season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
And there he was, Daniel Swinney. Robert, just a tremendous effort against a very good Iowa Central team. And again, just a microcosm of the coin flip of winning football games in the NJCAA. It is a very slim margin.
And kudos to Coach Strohmeyer again. I mean, he's got a great passing game in Deckers, but and we have a tendency maybe to overlook that run game as a result. But obviously, he's got some quality guys who can carry the pigskin as well. So if one aspect of the game goes down, the other aspect of the game ready to step forward.
This is the JUCO Rush. Pepsi, proud sponsors of the JUCO Rush. The folks down there in Gulfport, Mississippi. Allen Beverages, a proud Pepsi-Cola bottler down in Gulfport, Mississippi. Allen Beverages, refreshingly local since 1947. Allen, thank you. David, thank you for jumping on board with us here on the JUCO Rush. All right, one feature we want to do is we want to go around the conferences in NJCAA football and take a look at some of the top talent, guys that are performing well. Let's go and dive in, and let's start up in Iowa in the ICCAC and look at some of the top players there. And we talked about Daniel Swinney. What an effort, 128 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns in the victory. How about Fresh Walters? It tied second nationally at 27 receptions, a couple of touchdowns. He has been fantastic for that offense, and he has connected really well with his quarterback, Hunter Deckers. Walt Gray, really just an anchor on that defensive line for Iowa Western, leads the ICCAC with 3 sacks. You go down to quarterback, Hunter Deckers. What a story. Hunter Deckers averaging 327 yards a game, 11 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's hitting it at a 66.2% percentage, ranks second in yards with 955. Make no mistake, Hunter Deckers, NFL scouts have already, in numbers, have already been out at Iowa Western practices, and Deckers is on his way. You know, he's either going to go to the CFL or the NFL. I think he's going straight to the NFL. Now, look, I'm not saying that Deckers is going to be drafted in the NFL, but I certainly think he'll sign as a free agent with an NFL football team. So just stay healthy, young man, and keep putting up numbers you're putting up, and you are well on your way. Boy, Titus Myers, this guy's just electric. He's athletic, he's nimble, terrific hands. You saw earlier the photo. Here's a guy that just really is just, you could just throw the ball up there and he's going to go get it. Ranks 4th with 24 catches, 5 touchdowns. He's catching it at 106.3 yards a game, which ranks him 3rd in the NJCAA. He also has a nose for the end zone, 5 touchdown catches for him. And look, I want to go to Iowa Central. This is a guy that I've been watching now for 3 weeks. Sincere Bowers for Iowa Central ranks 1st in all-purpose yards, all right, 183 rushing yards, 208 receptions. He has, what has he got? 672 total yards. He returns punts, kick returns. This guy is a rock star. This is a guy that's been on the JUCO Weekly Trophy watch list, and he's a guy that continues to shine and make it happen. And we certainly want to recognize him. That guy's a football player. Those are some of the guys in the ICCAC. All right, let's jump down to Kansas. The KJCCC, and there you go, my guy on the D. I love defensive guys, Robert. Just love them. Jamarian Augustus on that defensive line. What an effort. Really a big reason why Highland is doing what they're doing. 5.5 sacks, 16 tackles. He leads the conference in sacks. He's also up there in the country with sacks, and this is just a guy, ain't no way around it. When you watch the film and you have to go up against him, it's going to be a long afternoon. Our guy, Shamarian Bobo McKinnon for Garden City, another one who's tied in the conference with 3 interceptions, has 5 breakups, had a electrifying interception return for touchdown against Coffeyville a week and a half ago, and won that game for Garden City in overtime. This guy is a football player, and he is a solid Division I candidate for Garden City. And then you've got also on that defensive line, how about Ajavia Robinson? Tied for 1st in the conference, tied 2nd nationally in sacks with 5.5. Just a wall on the defensive line. Waymon Jordan Jr., averaging 132 yards a game for Hutchinson. That leads the nation, and he has been absolutely effective. He is in the hunt for that rushing title nationally. He's within that top 5, and he is really just a solid story. Boy, you look at just what he's done just at Hutchinson at producing. It's really been just solid. I mean, he has really gotten the job done for them, and he has pushed a lot of people. You go back to last year, and he comes on strong at the end of last season, battles through injuries in his career. He's in great shape. Probably going to have a breakout year when we were talking to Drew Dallas, and he is. Look, he was pushing Tyrell Reed for the starting spot when Tyrell left and went to Arkansas. So this guy is a workhorse, a thoroughbred. Gunnar Smith at quarterback for Highland. Here's a guy, again, tops for Highland at throwing the football, really having success for Highland. I mean, just really playing good football. And then Tre'Avis Jones, Coffeyville, only played in 3 games, but man, has he been effective for them. He has really made it happen on a consistent basis. He's a guy we're certainly looking to keep our eye on. Okay, let's move down to Mississippi and go down to the MACCC and look at some of their top players. Boy, Jalen York for East Mississippi, just a solid football player. Ranks first, 29 catches, 2 touchdowns, 75 yards a game. What do you say about that? That guy can go after it. Donnie Smith, defensive lineman for East Central, leads the country in tackles. Dandreas Giles, the defensive back for Holmes. Here's a guy, too, able to produce and be effective. Tied first in the conference and in the NJCAA with 4 interceptions. Quarterback Landon Vards for Mississippi Gulf Coast, really producing just some big wins. They're 4-0 as they get after it here against Pearl River, and they are really playing a pretty good football. I mean, he's 4th nationally with 231 yards a game, 13 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions. His completion rate, strong, 63.4%. He ranks 1st in the conference in yards per game. Then you got Trey Hall at Mississippi Gulf Coast. Leads the country, one of the favorites to win the rushing title across the country. Ranks 1st nationally with 516 yards on just 67 carries on the season. So he's having a solid year. And then up in Senatobia, Northwest, Demarion Petit, been an anchor for Benji Parker and that Northwest offense. Petit right up there as well, ranks 2nd with 449 yards, 7 touchdowns. And now he's got 107 carries. So there's a big difference in carries between him and Trey Hall. So 2 ways you can look at that. But bottom line, these 2 running backs, strong favorites to compete for a rushing title throughout the NJCAA. All right, let's take a look at the NEFC and also at the Independents. Wyatt Hagan, man, you get a chance to watch some tape on him. He is fun to watch. 218 yards a game, 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Has proven that he can step up in big games and perform. Then you got Georgia Military, Keenan Phillips at the running back position. There's a guy, leads the nation with 8 touchdowns. Daryl Harper at wide receiver, 21 catches, tied for 6th nationally with 3 touchdowns. Then another Georgia Military stud, Jarvis Coney, the linebacker, playing very well. Ranked 2nd nationally with 41 tackles. Snow College, Donnie Smith, 15 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He was a solid football player last year. He is picked up right where he's left off. Big one for him and his Badgers down in Butler this weekend. And then another good-looking running back, Lackawanna, Maurice Edwards out of that NEFC division. Edwards, one of the guys, top 5 in the country, 76 carries, ranks him 3rd nationally, 414 yards and 6 touchdowns. All right, let's go to the Southwest Junior Conference, football conference, and start out right here. Damon Mayberry. I mean, what a football player. Ranks first in the conference with 38 tackles. William Cornelson, another linebacker for Tyler. That's a guy that's played good football. 35 tackles, 12 tackles per game is what he is averaging. Jalen Webb, defensive back for Kilgore. Another solid effort. Ranks first in the conference with 3 interceptions. Tavion Atkinson, boy, this guy is a football player. I mean, just really, really good at what he does, man. I mean, he leads the country in sacks with 8 and is just a nightmare to match up with. Darion White, another good-looking linebacker for Tyler. He is really playing good football. And then Jemuri Davis, the wide receiver from Trinity Valley, another guy that is making a big difference. Ranks first with 113 yards a game and 4 touchdowns when you talk about the SWJCFC. Robert?
Well, Mike, you talk about some great ball players, and I think we mentioned it at the start of the show that we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. That's 6 from each conference, yet it is still just the tip of the iceberg of the great talent in the NJCAA. The JUCO Rush, it is continuing right after this. Want your team or business to truly stand out? Look no further than Sport FX Designs. They specialize in high-impact sport graphics and demand attention. Whether it's custom animated logos, sleek animations, or full branding solutions, Sport FX Designs delivers professional, eye-catching visuals that elevate your brand. Head over to www.sportfxdesigns.com and see how they can bring your vision to life. Well, time to check out sports news, and specifically, let's start with NMMI. Up a pivotal conference win over 21-16 Blinn, or beat Blinn 21-16. The game came down to the last play as Raiden Afabong broke up past the goal line to win it for NMMI. We talked about Elliot Pascal-Bell earlier, Mike, but how about NMMI wide receiver Carl Peterson? 94 receiving yards, a touchdown, 7 catches, and then, of course, a Favong finishing with a team high 12 tackles.
Yeah, big reason why Pascal-Bell had the numbers he had. Good balance of offense, of rushing and throwing. Huge win for Nimi against Blinn last weekend.
Dodge City knocks off Highland on the road 9-6. Highland was top 10 ranked going into this one in the Jayhawk Conference. Cogs are now 2-2 on the season, 1-1 in conference play, with 5 straight wins against Highland in the series. It also marks the first KJCCC win for first-year head coach Ryan Lesby.
Boy, Ryan Lesby comes in late in the year, really behind the 8 ball, and, man, picks up a couple of big wins early on. Dodge City, Jake Ripple and Dodge City, they got the right guy.
Itawamba upsets East Mississippi on the road 36-34 on a game-winning field goal by Eli Burciaga. With less than a minute to play, the loss by EMCC drops them to 1-3. Am I reading that right? 1-3 on the year, 0-2 in the North Division of the MAC Triple C. 3 turnovers by the Lions. Didn't help defensively. Jaden Thompson had 18 tackles, 11 solos, 7 assists with a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, pass breakup, and 2 quarterback hurries, while ICC is in a good position as we hit the halfway point. EMCC is in serious trouble.
Boy, when's the last
conference playoffs?
No doubt. When's the last time you saw East Mississippi 0-2 in the conference, 1-3? I mean, that has been a long time. Again, credit to how tough that league is down there in Mississippi. And, you know, there's still hope for East Mississippi because, like we talked about, a couple of 2-loss teams getting in. But, man, they've got a tough road to climb. Congratulations to Travis Macon and Itawamba. Travis, the head coach down there, that is a huge feather in the headdress for that Indian program. So congratulations to ICC.
Next in the program, let's D1 players.
Yeah, let's take a look at some future D1 prospects here. You look at, we talked about how this league continues to put up quality players, and it's a transition for them to move on to Division I, 1AA, and want to look at some guys each week. I want to start out with Jesse Wilson, the defensive lineman at Snow. His latest offer was from Kansas State. This guy's a Power 5 guy, just a quality football player. Boy, Tyler's Jaden Lawton and that defensive back spot. Just picked up his latest offer was from Memphis. Defensive back from Hutchinson, Lamadrick Spencer. He picked up a University of Texas San Antonio offer. Look, these guys are going to get a heck of a lot more offers as we wind toward the end of the season. A defensive lineman for Northwest, DJ Burgess, Houston Cougars offer. Linebacker from East Mississippi, Ty Burton, another one, just picked up a ULM offer. And then you see down there, Pearl River, certainly AJ Prim, one of the best players in the country. He just picked up his latest offer is from the Houston Cougars. So, Robert, as you can see, there are a lot of guys. And again, that's the whole point of this. These guys are getting in here to get that education. And then on top of it, move up to that Division I, 1AA, or even Division II level. But get that education paid for when you move on. And if you're good enough to move on to the NFL or CFL, good. If not, you're put in position to succeed at a very young age.
So we're talking about guys who are looking good at a D1 prospect. What about some guys that are just coming into the league and have already grown their stock?
No doubt about it. Stock rising. We love this segment here. These are guys that have flown under the radar screen. And my two guys this week, Keenan Frankston, running back from Pearl River, and Champ Harris, the quarterback out of Trinity Valley. I mean, you look at what Keenan Franks has done. 24 rushes for 134 yards against East Central last week. And the previous week, he ran it 23 times for 141 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, this guy's delivering, and he's going up against good defenses in those games. And then, the Champ Harris, my guy, 12 and 19 for 245 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed it for 37 yards and a score. Those are my two guys this week where their stock is rising.
My two guys, Chase Richardson. I mean, when you come in and the second game as a starting freshman is against a highly ranked Copiah Lincoln squad, and you knock off Cole Lynn, and then, of course, you got a big game this week, too. Chase Richardson has been very impressive this year in learning quickly how to advance from prep ball to college ball. Chase, one of my two. The other, how about a guy who in his first start as a freshman, Jaden Dukos, had 16 tackles, 7 solo, 9 assists. That is the best in the NJCAA from a standpoint of tackles per game, and he does it in his first outing. Granted, Blinn loses. I know he would prefer to have the W, but some great and impressive stats for Dukos in that week 1.
Hey, their stock is rising. I can't argue with you there. All right, Robert, key games of the week. This is where we select where we think these are the two marquee games to watch up. Robert, I'll let you lead it off.
Man, we want to know what Snow is made of, and we may find out as they take on Butler. Butler, of course, losing the first game of the year to Northeastern Oklahoma A&M, but then they have rolled over the last couple of weeks. They're in the top 15. Snow ranked 3, and the question mark is, well, they haven't played stiff enough competition. They took on Lackawanna, won by 3. So we'll see what Snow's made of, what Butler's made of. This is an important game for both. Snow in staying in the hunt for the top 4. Butler trying to get their way back into conversations that has them in the top 4. And then, of course, in the MAC-JC, I was mentioning just a few moments ago, Richardson, the QB at Holmes. Here's another stiff test. He is taking on Jones College, and Jones already sustaining a loss this year. That to Mississippi Gulf Coast. They don't want to lose again. Holmes wants to stay unbeaten. There's only about 4 or 5 teams in the NJCAA, less than halfway through the year, that are remaining unbeaten. Big game. Jones and Holmes, Snow and Butler.
Excellent choices. Mine, I mirror yours with Snow and Butler. Snow 5-0, Butler coming in with 1 loss. Huge game. Both teams ranked in the NJCAA top 15. Look at that Butler front line. Might be one of the better ones in recent years. Jaden Roper, 7 Cloud and company. They are dominating teams up front. Want to see how they do against guys like Jesse Wilson and so on for Snow College. And then down in Mississippi, this is a rivalry that has gone back decades. Pearl River and Mississippi Gulf Coast, huge game, long-standing rivalry atop that MACCC South Division. All-time series, Pearl River leads at 56-44 with 1 tie for Gulf Coast. Sophomore Javon Gibson, Trey Hall, those guys are just studs, and they'll play well. And then a pair of freshmen. I mean, Jack Wright has done a terrific job at building this football team in 7 seasons. And this guy just wins games, and he's got a good-looking freshman quarterback in Landon Varnes, another talented freshman wide receiver in Mason Beverly. Want to see what they could do against that Pearl River defense. Pearl River ranks 9th in the country in pass defense, yielding just 135 yards per game. So that is a big game. Yeah, Pearl River is going to be an underdog in that game, but still, nevertheless, because there's not a lot of runway in a season, you fall to tiebreakers. So you lose in your division, particularly down there. It's like a double whammy. You're trying to work your way up from the tiebreaker scenario. So those are our key games of the week. As we wrap up the JUCO Rush podcast, again, special thanks to our guys at Pepsi, Allen Beverages, Pepsi Cola bottler in Gulfport, Mississippi. Really appreciate them jumping on board. They have been refreshingly local since 1947. They get it with JUCO football, and of course, Sport FX Designs, Robert.
Thank you very much, Blake. What a tremendous job. Hey, Mike, what a great first show. Interesting, too, to see what Helene does, or if she does anything that storm out in the Gulf of Mexico to impact play this weekend. Good luck to all participating, and we'll do this again a week from today.
Sounds good, Robert. We'll see you then.